And good afternoon. Kevin Hastings here along with Hunter Yancey and Zac Mayhue today, our newest episode of Shock Joxx by KTC Broadcasting. Good afternoon, everybody. Just crossed over noon o'clock so I can say hello to everybody. Hi. Got to fix my camera there a little bit. Hunter Yancey, say hello to everybody. Hi.
Hi.
This is an audio
Hi.
broadcast, Hunter. You can't
Hi.
wave at the people on the podcast.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
And there's Zac Mayhue. Good morning, Zac.
How are
Good
you?
afternoon, Zac. Good day.
Good
so
day.
far.
Yep.
Missed you Monday. We've got to go over some things that we saved specifically for you. We were saving the Nascar and the what was the other? UNC Duke talk, because neither one of us actually saw the whole game like you did.
Yeah.
Because we were actually at the very important and highly pivotal, emotional, dramatic game between the Hornets and the Mavericks, right?
Yeah, it was absolutely riveting. riveting.
Just hot garbage, Zac, is all we can say about the Charlotte Hornets basketball this year and in the past few years. Not been that great, and Hunter and I had to watch that a little bit. And what's funny about it, Zac, is during the in the fourth quarter there, I'm sure everyone else in the stands, along with myself, was concerned with was checking their phones, checking the Carolina Duke scores on their phones, and I was texting back and forth, Zac, with Hunter and Tom on the other side of the stadium about the game, because we couldn't watch it, but then I figured out there were some TVs near one of the bar areas that had the game on, and it turned in there in the last few minutes. Well, the last few seconds took more than a few minutes. But what I was going to say is that there was almost, I ain't going to say more because there's a ton of people in the stadium. There was a crap ton of people, Hunter, there watching the Carolina Duke game as opposed to the Hornets game at the time. It turned in there in the last. Let me turn that down, people. You can hear the feedback loop on our Facebook page. I want to thank everybody for watching on Facebook and YouTube as always. You can listen to the podcast where podcasts are found, Apple, Spotify, and more. Replays on YouTube and video, of course. Full video here on Facebook. Shock Joxx Sports Talk. We talk a little bit about everything. Baseball, basketball, football, hockey, wrestling, golf, NASCAR. Did I say NASCAR? So we try to get it all. Today's show, we're specifically going to get into UNC-Duke, NASCAR, and Daytona this weekend, open up the season, and Major League Baseball playoff changes, maybe, and more coming across our plans for today. Let's start, Zac, in Daytona this weekend. And we had the Clash this past weekend to open up the season. The duels will be Thursday, tomorrow at 7 and 8:45. Duel 1, 7 to 8:45, of course, if you can do the easy math. And then, of course, Sunday, we'll have the Daytona 500 from Daytona International Speedway. On the pulling up the Clash results. Eric Jones came in first, Austin Dillon second, Clint Boyer third, Kyle Larson fourth, Newman fifth, Hamlin sixth, Elliott seventh, Blaney eighth, Gunner ninth, and Amarillo 10. One thing I like to look at, Zac, is the manufacturers.
That's what I was looking at.
So we do have two Chevys finish the race in the top 4, 3 in the top 7. Looking at the top 7, the top 6 actually got 2 Ford, 2 Toyota, and 2 Chevy. Don't get more parity in that, and that's a good thing for NASCAR, right?
Yes, it is.
The last few years we've had nothing but Ford and Toyota and Chevys, like they haven't even been out there, which I think is part of the reason. Two things. You saw Kevin Harvick switch and Stuart Haas switch from Chevy to Ford, and then you have Jimmy Johnson and Hendricks just struggling for the last few years. So something there in the Chevy department changed to affect these races, and I like to see where more than just 3 or 4 people have a chance to win every week.
Yeah.
Going into this weekend, Zac, we've got, pull up the schedule here. I thought I had it just a second ago. That was the Busch Series. So tomorrow we got 7 and 8:45. Then Sunday, the Daytona 500. What I do like about this the Daytona and Talladega is that a lot of the times you see some of the guys that don't normally win have a chance to win. Like we was just talking to Bubba Wallace down the hallway. He's run great in Daytona, and like to see more of that. Terry likes this type of racing, likes the close restrictor plate. Yeah. How do you feel, Zach? We'll see what you guys both think, Hunter, as well. Instead, and it's always been this way. Daytona's always been the opening weeks. What if they move Daytona to the championship weekend? Not necessarily the 500, even the second race.
Well, I'll tell you
Daytona.
this: even if I'm surprised they haven't done it at all because of how much money they'd pull. Mm-hmm. Just the entertainment value alone from the name Daytona being a part of the championship series. Like, some people might not like it, but if you're NASCAR at this point, really it comes down to reaching your market and giving people races that they already want to see. I know it's opening weekend. Obviously, this will probably be the weekend, not just because it's opening weekend, but because it's Daytona, that their viewership is higher than it'll be for the rest of the season until it gets to the playoffs. So why not run Daytona later? And then, especially in the playoff championship run, then that'll guarantee you the eyes and ears and the probably more money than you'll make any time else in the season. I mean, isn't that the most important part? Then, besides the opening race, I mean, it's the championship. It's the one. It's the one that means the most. So why not? Why not? I mean, you can always open up with some other track. People will still tune in that are NASCAR fans.
What if you opened up at Talladega?
That's what I thought. If you're going to move,
kind of get the same type of race.
That's why I said thinking you can do that, and then you could actually advance the Talladega mystique or whatever you would want to call it.
Yeah.
And then say, hey, we're opening up at Talladega. We're going to move Daytona to be like our Super Bowl at the end of the year.
And see, I wasn't even looking at that as like from a fan perspective or anything for NASCAR. I'm looking at that based off just the business aspect. Why would you not put one of the biggest stages in your championship? It just makes it more interesting. Oh, you mean to tell me these guys got to fight it out at Daytona for a championship? Absolutely. Instead of always ending it, in Florida?
Well, they're moving it now. It is going to be in a different place, I think, this year. What they've, Hunter, one thing they have to, with the schedule is, it's like kind of like baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So you want your different tracks, different times of the year. So you can't, you what I mean? You got to have if you're going to race in February, it better be in Florida,
right,
in Arizona, and Vegas, and that's that's kind of what they do. So next week will actually be in Vegas, and then the next week in California, then Phoenix, and then finally in Atlanta. This Sunday, March date in Atlanta, I've been there when it snowed, so that's just giving you, that's in Atlanta. It snowed in Atlanta when I was there.
Groundhog said spring was coming early. So
he did.
That's what they're gonna roll with.
I hope so. I'm not a fan of the cold.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. I'm
this year
sick and tired of this rain.
This year we finish in Phoenix. Is that better?
Yeah, I guess. Still, to me, it's like out of your two premier tracks that everybody knows, between Talladega and Daytona, why would you not want to end there? Because I'm telling you, just the name alone is going to draw viewership. How many people are going down there to the race? They will have more people at the race this weekend than they will for the rest of the season because it's Daytona. People around here talk about, oh, it's the Daytona 500. That name alone that's like basically saying this is the Super Bowl.
Right.
And I know
it's not. You're going to get the same viewership like you do the Super Bowl. You're going to have people just having sitting around with the race on eating. You're going to have very uncasual fans all the way down watching Daytona 500.
And it would bring more people out to the track if it was there at the end. Championship race in Daytona? Why not? That's like whenever I think it's better when they hold the Super Bowl at either the Superdome or the new Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The nicer stadiums, they bring out more people. So why not go to Daytona? It's still in Florida, so you're not running the risk of bad weather.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Unless it rains.
I'm just trying to go through read quick as I can, read through an article about Jimmy Johnson in his final year. And I don't think and Zach, what I mean by, I think the Chevy failures have contributed to Jimmy retiring. I don't think he wants to leave Chevy apparently, or Hendricks isn't going to leave Chevy, and he obviously can drive. I've always been concerned with the marathons that he runs. Training is one thing. You should train for a marathon. You shouldn't use marathons to train for something else. I don't think. Working out, training. Like Carl Edwards retired early, and he was the most fit driver we may have ever had, and so that just all that kind of just combined it, and it's just weird. Lowe's bailed out, and then now all of a sudden, and see when they did, in these few years when Stuart Haas changed to Chevy and Lowe's bails out, you're sitting there, well, what's going on here? And it's been like that the last 2 or 3 years, and like, and I always wonder, like, do drivers just stop being able to drive good? Like, that doesn't seem like a skill that would just, hey, I just can't drive any good. Or is it, as you get older, say in Earnhardt's case, you take different chances and different moves based on, I've got concussion problems, family, and other things like that. I know Jimmy's got young girls coming up. So with that said, Zach, how do the sponsorships, all that affects it? How do you see, like, NASCAR? Should they try to get something to where more sponsorships are all under one tent per se, like revenue sharing somehow to be able to support some of these older drivers? Like, you got guys that are driving for cars that'll never win, and then you got other guys like Kenseth and Carl Edwards and Jimmy that end up retiring at times when you don't think they maybe should.
I mean, you'd be going to a model similar to revenue sharing that they have in the other sports.
Yeah, right.
It's just according to what your I always go back to what your traditionalist is going to say, and that's with moving the Daytona 500. That's going to be with sponsorship. That's going to be with sharing revenue. There's going to be a traditionalist side to it where people's going to be like, no, we don't want that. We want if this is who you are. This is what we want, put on your car, and you get the money because of where you finish in your positions. And I could see both sides of the argument. I wouldn't care either way.
What if you had like a sponsorship program where you buy in tiers? Let's say you're Coca-Cola, you wanted to buy the first tier. So you got 30. Basically, you have 35 cars in each race, right?
Right.
So each race sells 35 main sponsors.
Right.
Is what how I'm getting that, and then all those 35 main sponsors get a car.
Yes. And
now you can get the same car the whole year, but what I'm saying is that it's one price across the board, across the league, and NASCAR works with the teams to fill those sponsorships across the board. And because right now you could say, well, if I'm Kevin Harvick, I charge more than Ricky Stenhouse Jr. does for your sponsorship. See what I mean? And so instead of doing that, kind of like a salary cap type thing where everybody buys on this level, and this is how we're going to support our cars and our teams.
And it might be something like, excuse me, you were saying that, and if you got your tier levels where they're based off your major sponsor, then what you're going to put on the back ends of the car, the hood, whatever you want to do it. If that's your base thing over the top, and then it's going to be a shared revenue, then let's just say you got 35 cars, everybody's buying. If it's Mountain Dew, if it's Lowe's or whatever, they put their money in. That money is distributed out evenly between the teams, and the way to get on the car, every car is going to have a major sponsor. Don't make it where if we say Lowe's or Mountain Dew says, I want to be on this car, put them in a pool and make them pick out of that pool where they go on the car.
Sponsor racing pool, that'd be fun.
I mean, what else can you? And that would be the only fair way to do that. And then you have your second tier, third tier, fourth tier, whatever you want to put on the car. That way, everybody's car. I mean, look what basketball's doing. I mean, I didn't think I would like the different logos on the shirts. It doesn't bother me as bad as I thought it would once they actually got out on the.
Soccer's been doing it for years.
Yeah. On the.
It's only a matter of time before it gets on football. It's money. I mean, these companies, these basically big corporation, big business, they're not going to say no to money.
So I wouldn't have a problem with it. I think there would be a lot of people that would, but if you look at the drivers that's in it, I mean, we're into what you'd call a new breed. This whole list. There's only a couple that's been in it for the good long haul, so there could be some changes up very easily with your names that's in it now.
Sorry, I'm just working on my camera. All right, Ricky Stenhouse. That is not centered up. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Is on the poll, Zach.
Yep.
And that's what I was talking about. Some of these lesser teams can get into these or can win these races. You got a favorite, or you still think one of these?
Kyle Busch never won in Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Finished second last year. Am I right about that? Finished second last year, and he is sixth. He is sixth on the pole this year.
A little bit higher. That'd be good.
I'm gonna put my hat in for Kyle Busch. I like the Busch brothers.
All right.
So I'm putting my name with Kyle Busch this week, and I hope he does get one.
Good thing people can't see us messing with that camera. It's funny. I'm not a Busch Brothers fan at all. I don't see why, and I guess his fans will say, well, we'll defend him racing those lower levels, but I hadn't seen Jimmy or Earnhardt or whoever do it. It's just a point of, at some point, are they taking rides away from those lower guys or not? And you wonder about people getting into the sport, how hard it is in getting the sport, how much money you have to put into it. Just a lot of questions about that, whether or not that's a good thing or not. Stenhouse, of course, like I said, got the pole. I think Bubba had it last year, maybe. He says, so this best driving Camaro I've ever driven is what Stenhouse said. Obviously, if you got the pole at the Daytona 500, it better be the best Camaro you've ever drove.
Yeah.
Jimmy made a point about the front end was better than last year. So maybe that's what Chevy's some of their problem is aerodynamic problems. He was talking about the front end's better, but it's not as good as what you want still at Daytona. So he may have not been feeling too good about the Chevy's chances with the way they have to race. Obviously Daytona is just such a crapshoot.
Yep.
I mean, you race a certain way for 2 hours. You think you got a strategy. You're doing good. You just ride, and then as soon as one person wrecks, there's nothing because everybody's so close. There's nothing you can do about it. And I don't know. If I'm these teams, the way I would almost put my car out there for this would be I'm putting a survival car out there. I'm not putting my fastest, best. What's the point of being the fastest if you're going to miss it? I think honestly, what percentage, Zach, do you think it is that you're going to finish the race? Each car. About 50-50? Is only about 20 cars finish or less than that?
Yeah. Because how many cars start? 30?
35.
Yeah, 35. I was thinking 40. I was
Used
thinking
to be 43. It'll be 38.
I was thinking
like
30 to 40% would finish. So, am I right? I'm trying to think on the right side, thinking that 30 or 40% wouldn't finish is what I'm thinking.
Right.
And I think that's pretty fair assessment.
So Alex Bowman got the 2 spot. Everything else will be raced for in the next 2 nights here in the duels on the 13th. That's tomorrow, not next 2 nights. Both the duels are tomorrow night for you folks who want to check that out. All right, Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
You got a predictive winner?
No, I ain't got any idea who's gonna win it. I don't watch NASCAR.
Right.
I just like Kyle Busch because he wins. He's a winner. He goes out there and he drives hard all the time.
That's why I like
him.
Well,
when I was younger, I liked Jeff Gordon, but they're two completely different race car drivers. But Kyle Busch goes out there and is aggressive and wins.
I do like Kyle Busch because of that fact, and he also, like I said before, he shops in my store.
Well, the reason most people don't like him is because he's a jerk about things and not.
Denny Hamlin could be a bigger jerk than he is. We're on the same team.
When I've met him in the store or even met his wife, they're one of the nicest people out there. So we got along very well, and I like him this weekend.
Full schedule for it. Let's give it to you guys. Today on the schedule, there's nothing. So I guess Jimmy's running a marathon. And whatever everybody else is fishing and golfing, whatever else they do.
Yeah.
Gander Mountain's first RV and Outdoors Truck Series practices tomorrow at 4 and 5:30. Then the NASCAR Cup Series at 7 and 8:45. Duels Friday. The Xfinity Series first practice at 2. Truck Series qualifying at 3. Xfinity Series final practice at 4:30. Daytona 500 third practice 5 o'clock, and the Truck Series will race Friday at 7:30. that will not be on WCSL this weekend. We will have WCSL, the NASCAR Racing Experience 300 at 2:30 Saturday afternoon on WCSL 92.3 FM and 1590 AM. Qualifying Xfinity Series 11 AM, Cup Series final practice 12:30, and then Sunday coverage starts at 2:30. The Daytona 500 on WCSL 1590 AM. It's the only sporting event we have on Sunday on the radio. So folks, listen to racing on KTC this weekend. All right, Hunter. I guess you don't have any other comments on NASCAR, then, do you?
No.
All right, guys. Let's get you guys.
That's just one of the things. Like, I know people won't get around it, but my generation is just not a big NASCAR fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. It's tough for, it's the mind. Well, it's the saying everybody says. It's like we all have goldfish attention span now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't sit there and just watch cars go around in a circle. And people that are NASCAR fans don't take that offensive. Just I could watch racing, like I can watch Indy racing or Formula One. It's a little bit more exciting, but I can't get just left turn. Can't do it. So I can watch dirt bike racing. I can watch dirt tracks.
See what's weird to me about that is,
and I can watch the ones that have like GTRs and Lexuses out
I'm
there.
showing you NASCAR. I'm showing you the fastest car. This is a race car. Like if you want to be a race car driver, that's what you drive would be a NASCAR. You can't
go to the Indy car.
Hunter, hold on. If I bump you in my NASCAR in your Indy car, what's gonna happen?
What's your point?
You're gonna wreck and die and blow up into little pieces. I'm saying my point is this is a real race car, not some little go-kart that goes 200 miles per hour.
Oh, a little go-kart that goes 200 miles per hour. Yeah,
I know, right?
Right.
They showed one of the guy's heart monitors was pegging at 130 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's good.
I don't know if that's good.
You think about heart monitors?
Nah, I'm trying to think. Like usually when you go to the doctor and they put the little heart monitor in there and they tell you, okay, it's fine. I'm trying to think what that number is. And
it was pegging at 130. Just type in regular beats per minute what it's supposed to be. It's probably like 90 or 100. I'm not sure. But the turning thing, people bring that up a lot. Andre will bring that up a lot.
Wait. The normal resting heart rate is between 70 and 100 beats per minute. Huh.
So it's almost twice.
It's almost twice. 130.
Yeah. I was trying to, you talk about Andre's talking about the turning. Well, at that speed, it's almost impossible.
Oh, I know. It's difficult, but
there's so much money involved. I tell you, the best thing about it, Hunter,
it does have a lot of money involved in it.
The best thing,
and I think that's why I can at least speak on it, is because I don't really speak on it as a fan. I speak on somebody that knows really a sports business industry, and I'm just trying to give them ideas on how to make it more interesting.
So when you watch
make money,
when you watch a NASCAR race, what I think's most interesting about it is that
last 4 laps.
I think you know that you learn more about that sport than any other sport while watching it.
Oh, the color commentators are fantastic.
Right. So if you watch a football game, every single person who's watching the football game thinks they're a football expert and will yell and argue with the announcers on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever gotten mad or upset or argued with a NASCAR announcer about anything or yelled at the TV about anything, because 99% of the thing, they're explaining things to you. And I've learned more about my cars watching NASCAR than I have really been taught by anybody. It's kind of you're talking about your generation, is that they do need to find a better way of promoting it.
And it's tough for my generation to wrap their head around it and get really into it, because it is one of those sports, and you alluded to it. It takes a lot of money to get into it. And I can't just
you're not doing it as a kid.
Yeah, and not many people are just doing it as a kid, besides maybe going to the GoPro park or something and riding around in go-karts. Like, it's not just easily accessible to get into. It's easier to get into dirt bike racing and maybe racing ATVs than it is racing stock cars and racing go-karts. It's just, whereas ball sports, you can do a pickup game literally with anybody. I can't just go out here and say, hey, you want to race down new 16 in our vehicles? It's kind of illegal.
Well, that's the argument everybody has why soccer is so popular in basketball as opposed to baseball, because you need a field more than about 10 people to play, and football is kind of the same way. In basketball, you need a hoop and a ball. In soccer, you need a ball and something to kick at. So there's a big argument about that.
it's
watching.
just, it's just tough.
It's a family type thing too, probably more than anything. Growing up is like what you said. Like, well, how many people just sit around and watch Formula One races that aren't just into cars? It's kind of you got to be a lot of people are into cars, but I honestly find it interesting. I have the last few years. So I've went through a period of Jimmy winning almost every race. The last 4 or 5 years of not winning any at all. Yeah, and I haven't lost when I watch my anticipation to watch a race is completely different. But watching my entertainment while watching it, is the same or if not better, just because of, like I said, I think the announcers do an amazing job explaining everything and talking about everything that's going on. And you go from one corner to announcer to the turn 2 announcer to the turn 3 announcer to turn 4. Then you go to the pits explaining what's going on with this. Yeah. Well, why does air pressure affect how you drive? I mean, you learn so much, and I still get that. It's not a. It used to be I turn it on. All right, Jimmy, let's win. I could sit there and drink a couple beers and watch it and think, all right, my boy's gonna have a chance. Now it's, well, I hope he don't wreck, and I hope everyone else does. Well, but still, and Terry's thing is that he don't like the races like when the one guy gets out in front for a while, and that's his. I think that's his biggest thing.
It's very understandable.
See, Charlotte, and a lot of that's got to do with the tracks. Like Charlotte, is very thin. So like, there's no room for passing. There's no room to take. Like there's corners where you get to, you're not going to pass them, just because of the way the track is. And right. Each track's different. Each race is different. The number of races.
And two, you're thinking about that too. Is strategy plays into racing a lot. Right. You're talking about you're going to take 2 tires. You're going to take 4 tires. You're going to get gas. You're going to do this. Where are you at in your position? You talk about passing. Do I need to pass now? You don't have to pass. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're in a position. Do you want to get out front and take up all that air? I mean, there's strategy that goes on, and you can hear them talking back and forth.
Well, if you're leading the last lap of the Daytona 500, you're really in 5th place. Is kind of what they say.
And that was where I was going to go to with this, is because some of these races you got to have partners. Right. And you get to your Bristols, where you're in a very, very small
in Martinsville
area,
where everybody's braking. There's really not. It's not really. It's braking and go, brake, go, brake, go, and you have to trust and hope the other guys around you don't bump into you and push you at the same time. They're all trying to brake at the same time.
And I think you were talking about Hunter. We was talking about why people don't watch it. I think and this is my personal opinion. I think we need the personalities back a little more too, like the over-the-top personalities, if that makes any sense, of the 80s, even the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. In the 90s we had Jeff Gordon that was the comer-up, and we had, we still had Dale Earnhardt in there. And,
let him fight again.
Well, Jimmy is awful PC. He's just such a calm, quiet, nice guy. Then you had Tony Stewart, who wasn't, and then he killed a guy, and then you couldn't promote him. Yep. Well, so I mean. And then Jeff Gordon retired. Tough. Carl Edwards was really the guy they were promoting it. And then, every few years they go Young Guns and try to go to the Young Guns. And a lot of the guys they promote hadn't really – they need them to win the races. Right, like but if you've got Harvick and Johnson and Kyle Busch winning all the races, it's hard for the young guys to win the races too.
And I mean, I think that's hard for somebody to attach on to. Now, I don't have a problem. Jimmy Johnson's PC style, there's nothing wrong with that. You can have that, but you need your other – players in there, and it's kind of like wrestling. I hate to say that, but who are you going to be attracted to, and are you going to?
Shouldn't other sports take more from wrestling as far as the promotion wise, as far as the smack talk and the
Attitude Era was huge. That basically was the stepping stone for what made wrestling huge. Was you love their personality. Why do you? And that's the question: is why do you turn in on certain television shows, like talk shows? You like their personality. I mean, his personality is everything.
Yep, and I think that
it's what's entertaining to listen
to for the NASCAR too. They just got to be really careful that they don't lose their base with everything switching over. With all these guys that's coming up, that's going to be gone. Jimmy's going to be gone. Kevin Harvick's going to be gone. I mean, Kevin Harvick came in 2001.
He's got 4 more years. He just signed an extension. He just signed an extension. So him and Childers and the gang will be together for 4 more years, according to the agreement. All right, Zach. Wednesday, we mentioned a minute ago. We never got to it. All right, time to go. UNC-Duke.
Yep.
with this is the summary of what I saw with 0.3 seconds left, or well, 0.3 with up 3 with about 4 or 5 seconds left. Carolina fouled on purpose.
Idiots.
Duke at half court. And then my son and I walked back to our seats. By the time we got back to our seats, there was still time left on the clock. And I was like, how did that happen?
It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
So, Zach, you want to give us a quick synopsis of kind of what happened near the end of the game?
It was about 7 seconds left.
Tell us about how Duke cheated.
We were up 3. Yes, they missed that call blatantly. I will say 2 things about that missed call.
Mm-hmm.
He was mugged.
But it was about the end of the game?
Yes, he was just completely run over. But we can't say because they made that foul call we lost. It was play tech. He couldn't hit a free throw. He had been on the line multiple times in that last. We were up 13 with about 3 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm. Is this not the sorriest lineup you've seen Carolina have in a long time?
Oh,
where
yeah.
play tech is a starter and is averaging 3 points per game.
And we talked about they're a C grade team.
I give them a D.
What they have, or C players. So they were up
D with an outlier
13.
at point guard.
They were up 13, 3 minutes to go. I looked at my wife. I said, we're going to lose. She said, there's no way. I said, Mandy, they're going to start fouling. We can't hit a free throw. And we missed 17 free throws in that game. Duke missed 8. So if we just hit our free throws, we win the game easily. Mm-hmm. Now, with 7 seconds, I believe it was like 7.3, there was a timeout. I think we were on the foul line before that. We hit 1 of 2. And when that happened, I just hung my head. So they said, we're up 3. They said there was something happened earlier in the year where Roy did not foul, and it cost him a game. They said, Roy's going to tell them to foul.
And I thought that was the dumbest move he could have pulled. You put Duke at the free throw line for free? Only down 5?
Well, it's just who they put on the free throw line.
Well, even then, you think Coach K's not smart enough to tell him, look, miss the second one?
Well, let's think about this. Okay, so 7 seconds left. They inbound the ball. They get it as soon as they cross half court. It might have been right before, right after they crossed half court. It was, I want to say 4.3 seconds left, and they fouled Trae Young. And I was sitting there. My wife was watching the game with me. She loves to watch Tar Heels basketball with me. And I said, she said, he's going to hit both these free throws. I said, no, he's not. He's going to hit the first. He's going to
purposely miss the second one.
And I said, we have to get this rebound.
Yeah.
And he was dead on free throws that night. I mean, he was just nailing. Trae Young played above his head. So he hits the first, and it took almost perfection to do what happened. It went off the front of the he threw it off the front of the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it bounced back a little bit behind him at the 3-point line. He gets the ball, goes a little bit in front of the 3-point line, and he has to have a perfect shot with 2 people on him, and it was nothing but net. And there was like 0.2 seconds left, and you're just sitting here scratching your head. It took gambling odds perfection to do what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Put them in overtime. They get up, I think, 5, and we come back and are up 3, and we get in the same position again at the end of the game. And he shoots again, and he misses horribly. And our player, I can't tell you who it was, he was watching the ball. And like Kevin said the other day, that was the NC State Houston game from the 83 championship where
the
guy just comes out of the air, he catches it, and he lays it in with no time left. And you're like, why didn't you box out? If you boxed out, that's it, you know? So it would have been double overtime. I still don't think we could have won in double overtime. We had to get them after leading the whole game in regulation.
I mean, it was – like for all that to happen, Zach, and just you know, the odds of it is just insane to me.
Me and you were texting back and forth, and you're like, seriously? And I'm like, I've never seen anything like this.
I hate the fouling there at the end.
I do too.
I hate the fouling there at the end.
Like fouling while up.
Yeah, don't and at least don't purposely foul them.
All I would have told them, this is just me, I would have said, if they shoot a 3, don't touch them.
Yeah, don't touch them. Don't touch them. And the reason why I don't like it is because you stopped the clock and gave them free points, because there's rarely a Duke team that can't shoot free throws. There are rarely Duke teams that can't shoot free throws. For God's sakes, he always used to recruit shooters, so they can always shoot free throws. And here's what's so crazy, too. You stopped the clock. That's the biggest problem I have with it. So what if they come down here and try and shoot a 3? You've been playing decent enough defense all game to at least make them have to work and waste more time off of that clock.
And we had perfect opportunity. Their best player, Vernon Carey Jr.,
Had fouled out.
He had fouled out.
He'd fouled out.
But Trey Jones, and I will say this, he has been in this position before, and you could tell he was older than them. He was composed. He kept his composure. You can say and I'm a Carolina fan, you can say that it was a mugging on that. And I said we were robbed.
Right.
But we wasn't robbed by missing all them free throws that we can't hit. And I've said this before, and I talked with you and Andre the other day in the office. How good of a player would they be if you're a 5-star or a 4-star coming out and you're a 90% free throw shooter? How much better does that make you?
A lot.
Why are we not teaching free throws from a young age and making that it's just important as dribbling the basketball?
Zach, you're 100% right on the free throws. The just year after year after year, I myself struggled as a free throw shooter coming up, and it took a lot of practice to get it right. But once I got it right, I mean, I got to 88, 90% of hitting all my free throws. To me, I don't think you can shoot the same form you do on your regular shots. Your regular shots, you're stepping into it, you're jumping, you got defenders. Free throw, to me, is the least motion as possible. So Shaq sits there and palms it. What you don't want to do, you want the least amount of elbow action. The more elbow action you have, the more muscle action you have. It puts more power on it. That's why LeBron can't shoot free throws. Watch him. His elbow way back here. The further you have to, if you could keep your arm, people that watch online, if you keep your arm straight out here and just flick your wrist, go to a video arcade, and then you got the hot shot, the papa shots. Just shoot there, and you'll feel how you're supposed to shoot a free throw because all you gotta do is just flip it. It's just a flip. It's just all it is a flip, and these guys don't practice it, and I don't know why the coaches don't put as much emphasis on working on that as they do. We practiced in high school. We had drills, but it was definitely an afterthought. We did way more defensive drills. That's all we did in basketball. Defensive drills. And as a basketball player, you would think, well, if we practice shooting more and doing more free throws, like we could hit more threes and more free throws.
Let's look at that.
We would do one shooting. Exactly. At Cherry, we would do one 3-point shooting drill a day, just one, and it was just 15 minutes of just, I don't know, it's just basic. There was nothing to it. We weren't designing. It was just if you're open, shoot a 3 type thing. I know the offenses are different now, but to me, you're 100% right on the free throw. I don't understand the how the free throws why they're so bad.
If I told you, I'm gonna get you by practicing 10 extra points a game. Who would not jump all over 10 extra points a game?
Right.
Instead of trying to defense, stop 10 points a game. So if you're good on defense and you're stopped 10 points a game and you can shoot free throws and you get 10 more points a game, that's a 20-point swing. It makes no sense to me that you wouldn't want to be that much better of a prospect coming out. Think about Gary Payton. Mm-hmm. If you put him on the line, was he 90? Mark Price.
How many free throws? How many free throws did Carolina miss this weekend?
17.
And how many overtime? They went to overtime. All I'm gonna do is make
17, and they weren't even close. These were good free throw shots. These were it was dinking off and going into the coach's box.
Right.
So that's my take on it. We lost because we couldn't shoot free throws, and then we turned around and lay a goose egg last night against Wake Forest. We get wore out by Wake Forest.
So Oklahoma State got beat by 8 by the number 1 Baylor. They missed 12 free throws. No, 13. 5 free throws. Lost by 8. God dang, they missed 12 3-pointers. That's one thing they won't adjust with. They just keep firing them threes, won't they?
I hate it. I hate watching basketball. I hate watching basketball. And you know why? Because that is exactly what it is. It's jack of 3. It's jack of 3 every possession. There's no set half-court offense, and if there is, it's just put a big man down low and all 4 other players on the perimeter. Well, you never win the rebound game because of that. I hate it.
I was even watching a little bit of the Philadelphia game the other night, and Joel Embiid is jacking up threes.
Yeah. Did you see the Portland goaltend?
No.
Controversy. Well, Damian Lillard was goaltended and they missed the call, and he lost his mind, and McCullum and everybody, and they blamed the referees.
I heard about it.
But Zach, they blamed the refs. They missed 53 shots. Got out rebounded by 15. And I think they missed about. I'm gonna pull it up here in just a sec because I had it up. Because I tweeted about it myself at Kevin Hastings. If you want to follow me in there. And they blamed the referees on a goaltending call. They gave up 117 points, Zach. That's what it was. They gave up 117, missed 53 shots, got out rebounded by 15, but it's the referee shot they lost on the final shot.
Yeah, it always goes back to that one. That's why I didn't blame the referees for the Tar Heels loss. We can't shoot a free throw.
Missed 17 free throws.
Hit your 3-pointers and you win.
I didn't even blame the referee for that. I blamed Roy Williams. I blamed Roy Williams for how he handled the end of that game. Mm-hmm. Not only just overtime, but regulation.
You can still, you can put some of that on Roy because you're still in that position. But
and not just that, but even though, and that this whole season is on Roy. You can't just come out and say, well, this team, we just don't have, this might be the most untalented team we have. Well, isn't it your job as the coach at the college level to make them better? I mean, they're not all coming out of high school going to be professionals.
If the coach...
You don't have 5 Cole Anthony level players on your team. Like, come on now. That's why I put the Duke game on Roy. Because the whole season needs to be on Roy.
If the coach at Appalachian State says, well, we just ain't got good enough players, does he get fired? If he comes in last in his division and says, we don't have good enough players, does that coach get fired?
I mean...
Yes.
Listen, if your name's other than Roy Williams or Mike Krzyzewski and you say those words and you come in last.
Any school does not want to hear, especially because they're like, well, that makes your students, your athletes look bad. They don't want your coach.
Them.
Now
it ain't Matt Brown's fault.
Now, look, it's different in the NFL, okay? It's different.
Last in the ACC.
In the NFL, you can come out and say that because those are grown men. But these are like just student athletes, and you come out and say, we just don't have it. We're just not talented. Whoa, well, okay. You were the one who saw those 4 stars and 5 stars and thought they were really going to pan out, didn't you? That's what's so funny, and that speaks to coaching as well because think about it, and I'm going to like tie this in with football. The LSU wide receivers that everybody was going so crazy over this year, the best wide receiver they had came in as a 2-star, and they said he's a first-round draft pick, if not a second-round draft pick. And he ended up being the best receiver they have as a 2-star. Well, you know how that happens. 1, it's dedication for him to work on his craft, but 2, it's coaching. Mm-hmm. The coaches have really helped him. North Carolina and everybody says, oh, well, let's bring in these 5 stars and some 4 stars, and sometimes they just don't pan out. Well, you should have just coached them up and made them a little bit better and not just expect them to be the same that they were in high school. It's just a joke. And I'm telling you, the fact that Playtech is starting at the shooting guard makes me want to pull my hair out. Makes me want to pull my hair out.
We're 10-14. That is the bottom of the ACC.
Well, 3-10.
3-10.
I was looking at the overall. Overall, but that's still bottom, regardless of which way you.
They have the worst overall
record.
Yeah, I mean it's worse than both. And like I said, this is a horrible year.
And it's what's so crazy though. But it speaks to that rivalry. As bad as we are, it still took overtime for Duke to beat us. As bad as we are, we still didn't lose to NC State at NC State. So
we lost to Clemson this year, the 40-year.
Oh, and we lost to Wake Forest, who literally is 1 above us because they beat us.
They stomped them.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't even a loss.
It was like 40-25 at halftime. It was embarrassing. I don't even try and look and see if they're going to be on television anymore, because why do I want to sit down and get mad watching a basketball game? I just don't. That's how I feel every time I go and watch the Hornets. I'm like, you could be so much better, but you're just garbage.
Yeah, and you guys go watch the Hornets game, and Luka and Porzingis, neither one playing.
Neither one of them plays, and they're down 31 at one point. Lose by 16.
Well, I mean, it was 16-2, 31-10 at half at the end of the first quarter.
It was bad. Oh, it was bad.
Bad. So we're all in agreement Roy should be fired.
I'm gonna give him another year. Because Playtech's I don't believe is coming back next year. They won't be able to be so lenient on Cole Anthony next year because he'll be gone. Because when I think they do with him, I've said it before, I think him playing not on a minutes restriction is a bad thing because they use him as a crutch. And the other players don't learn to really play and establish themselves as scorers. They're like, oh, well, if we need a quick 5-run or 6-run scoring drive, we're just going to give the ball to Cole Anthony and let him work.
They're going to have a completely different team next year. Right?
Yeah. And they have, and I know it just was rattling off about 4-star, 5-stars, but they do have 4 McDonald's All-Americans coming in next year. 4. They got one of the better recruiting classes that they've had in the past few years, so that's why I'm going to give him one more year.
So
I'm going to see how he works with the freshmen because I don't know if all of them are going to stay or if they're all going to be one-and-dones. But I'm going to give him a year.
In the last 2 years, a coach has missed the Final Four with 3 top 10 picks, and a coach has said, I don't have any good players and came in last, and I am silly/stupid for asking for one or both to be fired. I'm just wondering.
I don't think you're stupid. I've called for Roy Williams' job in the past few years.
Fire Coach K.
And what's so funny is, if I'm not mistaken, I think the year before they went to the national championship to play against Villanova, I was like, fire Roy. And then they went there and lost to Villanova. And I was like, okay, well, we're pretty decent. Then we went and won it the next year. I was like, okay, we're fine. I'm back on the fire Roy train. Not yet, though. Not yet. I have got to see, because maybe he's right. Maybe these guys just didn't pan out and aren't talented. I'm not going to take away that he hasn't. He shouldn't coach them. But talent does make a big difference on the floor. But I'll also say this as well about Duke. I don't think Duke is a Final Four or Elite 8 team. I could see them going out in the Sweet 16, depending on who they draw. You're going to play North Carolina like that? And have to go to overtime?
Carolina's system is set up.
Did Carolina play up or did Duke play down to their competition?
It's a rivalry. It goes back to your rivalry.
It's not a rivalry. We lead by 25, almost 25 games. And see, that's what's funny. They only want to go back to the past 100 meetings.
Well, we got you talk about the recruiting class coming in. We got point guard, combo guard, shooting guard, and then 2 centers. The 2 centers are 5 stars, and if you put them with Baycott, which is not going to go pro, I just highly doubt he will.
If he does,
you're going to have
a
very solid.
If Baycott learns how to be aggressive and attack the boards, he'll be another year older. I'll give him that. But I agree.
You got Caleb Love coming in. He'll replace.
Anthony.
You got the combo guard, which is a 4-star, and then they've offered Zaire Williams, which has not committed yet. So
that'd be nice.
We could be all 5 of those guys could start coming in.
Here's the problem about Zaire Williams. Here's the problem. If Coach K talks to him, Dwayne's going to be in his ear. Say, look, I played for Coach K on Team USA. Look, that's what LeBron said. LeBron said he would love for Bronny to play with Coach K just because he played with him at Team USA. That's what's going to help a lot of these ex-NBA players, their sons. That's what's going to help Coach K really. He's going to say, hey, I played for him. He's a pretty decent coach, man. If you got to go at least for a year, I want you to play under him.
Zach,
that's just what's going to be tough.
I want the Big 3 league to start paying these high school recruits to play for them for a year instead of going to college. Think about Zion Williams and Zion in the Big 3 for a year.
It would have to be completely different than the Big 3 though, because what the Big 3 right now is a retirement league.
Well, they're changing. They're lowering that league. They're changing it. They're lowering the ages and all that other stuff. It's kind of like with the XFL. I'd like to see,
but it still is a retirement league though.
No, not anymore.
Essentially,
not anymore.
They could have players that
they can have anybody now,
right? That are not in on an NBA team. That are in the 20 to 25 range.
Even if it is right now, but what I'm saying is Zion Williams could come out. Somebody like Zion. And
don't call it the Big 3.
Do I want to go?
I want him to go. If I want him to play, I don't want to play 3v3 on 3. I want to play 5-on-5. Let's make it a Big 5 league. I don't care.
I'm good with 3-on-3, and that's going to differentiate it.
Hey, if Zion Williams came out of high school,
right,
and played in the Big 3, and kicked ass and did all that in the Big 3 that he's doing now on these old dogs, he'd still been drafted number 1.
Right.
Those
they're
are
getting paid.
Well, that's
those are the players that I'm talking about.
Yeah, but you're saying the same thing with the big three, where they could just as easily go play overseas,
Right, but
play
it's in America.
5-on-5,
Right, it's in
and
America.
still get paid.
but it's in America.
But
That's what I'm
are you getting the TV time that the big three's going to get overseas? And that's the people seeing the
Yeah, but then you can still say, are you still getting the level of competition?
But none of that matters. That don't matter to me. None of that matters to me. All that matters is what I'm talking about is I'm an 18-year-old, and I can either play for free at Duke or get paid $1 million to play.
He's going to get paid $1 million at Duke. Don't lie.
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm saying, Hunter.
Okay, fine.
I'm saying these kids. Look, once they start paying these high school kids, there's an option in America. The reason nobody ever goes overseas is because guess what? It's overseas. Like these.
Yeah,
kids,
but it's becoming more prevalent now.
They don't want to go. They don't want to go overseas. The rich kids go overseas. LaMelo Ball can go overseas.
Well, yeah, that's because LeVar screwed him and decided to take away his ineligibility while in high school, taking him to go play pro ball. Like not even a senior in high school, like as a sophomore going to take him and play professional basketball.
Well, that's the NCAA's fault. Who were in court this week, by the way, arguing over antitrust exemption because they don't want to pay the players. So they spent $1 million on lawyers to ask Congress or whatever, so they didn't have to pay the players. They spent $1 million that they say they don't have to pay the players to not play the players. Think about how much money is it worth, Zach and Hunter, if they are willing to spend $1 million on lawyers to argue their position that they don't want to pay the players.
Well,
how much money do they have?
Well, this is where
if they can spend $1 million.
We can have this conversation.
lawyers.
Then. Here's the question. Here's the real question. Then, how much longer does the NCAA have as an establishment? I want you to think about that because with the states coming out wanting to allowing payment to the players,
right,
and more high recruits deciding, hey, I would much rather go and play overseas and get paid,
or the big three,
or the big three. And now with the XFL not saying there's a rule on their draft, how much longer does the NCAA really have an establishment? Think about it. All the money that the conferences bring in, a lot of people have said it. Why hasn't the SEC just broke off and done their own thing? Why hasn't the Big Ten maybe even combined with the SEC and create their own conference? Like, why? Who says that they have to listen and abide by every rule that the NCAA makes?
If the SEC believes that they are the best football conference in the world anyway, why do they even entertain the BCS and just not say
we're playing our own conference?
Well, they play the conference champion. You already do it. So why not just say why do they
we're
just
the
play
national
anymore?
champions.
Right. They should just say we're the national champions. Whoever wins our conference is the national champion.
We played 12 games the regular season. We're going to play our 13th game, and that's going to decide the national champion.
So NCAA president today in court, he told Congress that there's a timeline in place for having all of this resolved by January 2021.
Nope.
Democrat senator from Montana asked, "Do you have anything on paper right now for this?" He said, "We don't." Hunter, I read his quote and you said no.
Nope.
He doesn't. He doesn't have a single thing.
Nope.
How do you say in back-to-back sentences, Zach, there is a timeline in place for this by 2021? Well, sir, what do you have on paper right now? Nothing. That's the president of Congress right now, today. How about Michigan's? Here's you one for your player transfers, Hunter. Michigan State hires Mel Tucker. It's Jay Billis's comment on it. The NCAA is concerned about player transfers and coaches and schools poaching other players. But Tucker was under a multi-year deal at Colorado, and after 1 year, he leaves. So tortuous interference with contract is okay. No, so torturous interference with contract is okay, but players transferring are not. Today, they said we can't. The NCAA are arguing about one of the senators responded to him. We can't get a prescription drug benefit to the floor. We can't get a war declaration to the floor. But we're sitting here arguing about paying college athletes. So he wasn't happy with having to sit there and listen to that from the NCAA. Trying to get through all this. They want an antitrust exemption so players cannot earn money. But this Jay Billis, but funny that the NCAA has never lobbied Congress to act in concert to limit their own salaries, travel, staff, facilities, coaches' salaries, media rights, or any other competitive issue. None of those are competitive issues, but paying the actual players a salary is. And it just keeps getting, like, for them to be so defended upon this system. How much money are they getting under the
because they always say
table?
They always say that. Well, you got two things that's going on. They always say football's your moneymaker, you know, and then basketball is, but not in lines with football. But they're making in so much money. If they're paying their coaches what they're paying their coaches, and then the TV rights. I mean,
ooh, don't let me be a senator. Don't do it. Don't do it, because I'm telling you.
That's a good idea.
I'm telling you, but this is the reason why. If you're a senator sitting there, and you and like you said, he's like, why are we even discussing this? If a senator was smart, I would be like, okay, you claim you're nonprofit. The NCAA claims that it is nonprofit. Then I guess you're not gonna mind if we get a warrant and ask for you guys to. You have to give us your pay stubs. Show us what your payroll is, what your salary is. We want to see how that works. We want to see where all this money is really going to. You know what? Would that not kind of put them on edge? Say, hey, we need you. And I'm not trying to get political with it, but, you know, they did the same thing with Donald Trump, with President Trump. They said, hey, we need to see your tax records. We need to see all this. We need to see the money. Well, why would this? Well, if you're really that offended with them not wanting to pay college players, and you're wondering where all the money goes for this nonprofit, then literally look at them and say, you need to supply us with paper documentation on all of your salaries and what exactly you do with this money. I don't see why not. I don't see what the problem is. They want to do it with everything else.
Right. I'm trying to do some fuzzy math in my head while I'm trying to listen to you.
Fuzzy math.
We're looking at the contracts just for the NCAA tournament rights. Not every other game that they play. Just for the NCAA tournament was like $19 billion just for two
networks.
Not counting the other networks.
Yeah, because what is it? It's True TV that does
Sport
it.
TV, True TV, something like that. TNT, all these. You add all these numbers up. That's just for the tournament.
And that's what I mean by someone needs to look at them and just bring the hard truth out and say, look, you need to start producing us hard copies of where this money is going.
That's $863 million a year. Hold on. 863, 123, 123. How many teams are in the NCAA?
64.
68.
No, 68. Yeah, because of playing games. Stupid playing games. Stupid.
So that adds up, Zach. You ready for this? 12.69 million per school, per basketball school. There's 10 scholarship players, or 13, I think, on a team, scholarship players. I think it's what that. I think I just read that a second ago. Let's say just add average 10 players that play on the team.
It's $120,000, isn't it? No, it's more.
It's $1 million.
It's $1 million. 1.2 million.
That you could pay the players
per
basketball player just from the tournament. And here's the point.
I would say per player per 68 teams.
Right.
Now, Zach, so they pay you in scholarship, room and board, and tuition, right? If you don't do you get a bonus as a athlete for making the NCAA tournament? No.
I mean, I was thinking, are you saying this would be an incentive to make the NCAA tournament?
Right. I'm getting to that. Currently, right now, will Playtech get $1,000 if UNC makes the tournament?
No.
Okay. In books and tuition. By the way, did you see they penalized a school for giving kids too many books?
Oh God.
There's a college, I don't know the name of it. The NCAA just penalized a college for giving them too much book money. Like they were supposed to get like $150 a kid, and they got like $350 a kid, and then they just got NCAA sanctions for unlawful payments for book money. This all it was on their card that goes. It's not like it was a Visa they could go to any store. This was the student bookstore card, and they got suspended for that. Real quick, where was I on this? Was I do the fuzzy math?
Yeah. Oh, 1.2 million.
But then think about it. That's only basketball.
And Hunter, that's on. Oh, I know where I was going. So, if you don't make the tournament, so if you don't get a refund for not, do you? You don't get money for not making the tournament as a player. So, you're not getting any. There's no bonus money for making the tournament. Is what I'm saying. That's why for football players, your scholarship pays for your regular season. The bowl play is something else. Like whether you play in a bowl or don't, you're not going to get any money to play in the bowl or not play in the bowl, right? So there's no money involved in the postseason play, is what I'm getting at. Now the coaches do have incentives in the postseason.
Right.
Coach K, Coach Roy, every level, all these coaches, every level of the tournament they play in, they can get a bonus from, Zach. So they're basically, Roy Williams will have a game, or not Roy won't this year, he won't make the tournament, but K will have a game this year where if he wins it, he gets $500,000.
Yeah.
And the NCAA don't have a problem with that. Because that's basically what he's doing. There's a sack of money, $500,000. If Coach K wins, he gets it. If he don't, the boosters keep it. It's not like that. Where does that money go if they lose? Where does that bonus money go? Do they give it to the basketball players? Do they give it to the soccer players, the tennis players, anyone else? No. So we're looking at $12 million. Was that per school? Mm-hmm. I did this once. Was that let's go with Alabama to be fun with it, because this is who I usually use. Alabama student athletes. Send me number they got. You have to specifically ask it when you type it in. Sometimes that's not a real word. I don't know what I just typed in. Spell check can be good sometimes, but other times it is awful. Crap, where's it at? Approximately 600 student athletes. So let's do 12 million divided by 600, Zach. 1, 2, 3, comma 1, 2, 3 divided by 600. $20,000 per student athlete. That each school, that's not the basketball players. That's everybody. So the basketball contract alone for all the teams that make the playoffs, for all 68 schools, basically you get $20,000 per school student athlete.
Hey, can we cut this segment? Put it down in a YouTube thing,
yeah, we will.
and then maybe, because what I would like to do, this will never happen, but if you can convince somebody, aka a top recruit that's playing at a school that's getting ready to go to the NCAA tournament, if you could convince him to come out in a press conference and say he's not going to play, because how many times do we hear players sit out in bowl games because they're getting ready to go and play?
Terry might just burn down a house.
Oh, I know he might burn down a house. But let me tell you something.
He would lose his ever-loving mind.
Whatever. I don't care.
Loyalty to the school.
So listen, say, what is it, Vernon Carey Jr.? Is that the one with Duke? Send him these numbers and say, look, get in front of a press conference and tell the people this is why you're not playing.
They owe you $20,000.
Yeah, they owe you $20,000 because Coach K's getting ready to get $500,000 as long as you win out of the first round.
They can say, all right, what did you say his name was?
Vernon Carey Jr.
All right, Vernon. If they paid you guys are about to get $12 million a school.
This is off of TV rights.
For the basketball
team. And just
team,
off of TV rights.
You are owed $20,000 if we pay all the student athletes equal, or if we just paid the basketball team who, actually earned the money by making the tournament. We could do it by that. Let's say, how many coaches are on the staff? Let's say players and coaches add up to 20, Hunter.
Okay.
Is that a good round number?
What was it right now with 10? It was 1.2 million.
Right. So we're going to go $12.6 million divided by 20, $600,000 a person. That's assistant coaches, head coach, and all the players. But people like Terry and other folks would rather the head coach get all of that money instead of the players and the assistant coaches getting any of it.
It's a joke. It's a joke. And what about us that promote these games? What about us that get this stuff hyped up, man?
$600,000 per basketball player.
I don't see schools coming. I don't see networks coming to us being like, can we get your feed?
Coaches.
Can we get your feed? Can we pay you for your feed, huh? But they want to go to TBS, huh? What? Jesus.
All right, Zach, any other thoughts on Duke Carolina? Can Carolina beat Duke at Duke?
I hope they do, but I don't know. It's probably bad night. Probably a bad night. Probably play good against Wake Forest.
They just got beat by 17 by Wake Forest, who's next to last next to last in the ACC, but we almost beat the number 7 team. Number 7 team. 7 team.
In the nation.
Can I not say that?
17, the number 7 team. You're saying it. Are you trying? Are you thinking?
Right.
Are you thinking?
It
You're
doesn't
saying
sound like
17?
I'm saying. Yeah, it sounds like I'm saying 17 in my
No,
head.
you're saying 17, the number 7 team. I'm hearing
in
it.
the nation.
I'm hearing it. Yeah.
Wow.
I thought you were just having a
I
brain aneurysm.
was, I guess.
I was like, what?
It goes back.
I couldn't say it.
Last thing I'll say, it goes back to the rivalry. And if you remember when the Cowboys were so horrible, was it '89? And the only team we
Right.
beat that year was Washington Redskins.
Right. Well,
on Thanksgiving.
we've been telling Terry all year that the NC State girls. He says they're 20-something and 1. We tell him they're 20-something and UNC.
Yeah, you lost.
He
to North
mispronounced.
Carolina.
He misspelled the word 1.
Yeah.
It's spelled UNC because they
funny.
lost to the Tar Heels. All right, so no future upsets for the Tar Heels from either one of y'all.
I don't believe so. I don't even know what the rest of their schedule looks like, to be honest.
We got Duke the last game of the season. So
That's a loss. We play at home against NC State. I know that. That should be a win because basically we just don't lose to them.
I mean,
basketball,
Hunter,
we just don't.
and the way we talk about these college players, I just want to go through some of these and see what. Just have fun with this, okay?
Mhm.
I know you know where I'm going on some of this, but I'm not going to finish it up. But are the players at San Diego State good enough to play at UNC?
Yeah.
That's not what would happen if you ask people. You know what I mean? Like, well, Roy didn't recruit them.
Oh, I know.
They're not good enough to play at UNC. Is Patrick Mahomes good enough to play at UNC?
Yeah.
He was had a losing record at Texas Tech.
These are team sports, people.
If after 2 years, would UNC have accepted a trade for Patrick Mahomes?
After 2 years,
At
based
Texas
off
Tech.
of his record, probably not.
Right.
I mean, probably not. Unless somebody in that organization has got the same scouting eye that the Kansas City Chiefs had
Right.
and saw what they were seeing.
Dayton is 21-2 and 6.
Dayton is so good, man.
I mean,
But they're always competitive out of their conference.
Seton Hall is 10th. Like North Carolina, the coach of North Carolina, Hunter, said that he doesn't have any good players. While Dayton is 21-2 and San Diego State is 24-0.
San Diego State right now and Gonzaga.
What would Carolina's record
look,
be in their conference?
Think about it. San Diego State and Gonzaga, both of them small conferences, technically. I think there might be both. No, San Diego State's Mountain West and Gonzaga's Western. Whatever the hell that kind of conference is, just a Western conference. They're fighting for top seeds in the NCAA tournament. Out of the top 4, do you know what conference is not represented? That's had 3 wins in the past few
Definitely
years.
ACC.
It's the ACC. The ACC.
No, I don't know. The
West Coast. West Coast
there you go.
Conference. That's
There you
what
go,
they're
West
called.
Coast.
The West Coast Conference.
Gonzaga.
Zags. Didn't they win it last year or the year before?
I'm really surprised their coach has not went somewhere else yet. But
They're throwing too much money at him. And he knows he can win in this conference guaranteed every year.
Yep.
He's built this program. Basically how Duke used to be before Coach K got there. Then Coach K finally came, had a lot of success, was able to build the brand that is Duke. He's doing the same exact thing with Gonzaga. It's a winnable conference. The only person that might challenge him is BYU or maybe even St. Mary's.
My question
That's about it.
is how do players end up at San Diego State and Dayton that are good enough, obviously, to be?
Do you know who played at San Diego State?
Well, I know Kawhi did,
Yeah.
and Marshall Faulk did too. But how do those players slip to the system and not get
I was gonna
recruited
address
/
that.
signed by others?
I was going to address, it goes back to the star system. How many people are
Starred.
misstarred? And then there is an NFL player right now. I think it's a quarterback. Was it Baker? Was he a 0-star?
Baker was a
recruit?
2-time walk-on.
There's a quarterback in NFL that was 0-star recruit, and he's a starter. So you're misstarring people. People's gonna go on the radar. How many players are out there that you're just gonna miss? We're talking about Keyone Pryor. Just to throw a name out there. I watched him. He's great. I can't believe a Division I school would not even take a flyer just to put him on the punt return team. It makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what hurts too is a lot of this is regional.
Mm-hmm.
They always want to recruit in their regions and maybe the larger schools in like California and Texas.
How do you look at like what Zach just said? How do you look at a video of Pryor? You've seen him in person as
I've
well.
seen him in person.
How do you look at a video of him and sit there and say, nah?
He's the best high school player
Nah.
I've ever watched. That's me. Now, I mean,
Like, how do you look at that and just say, we couldn't use him, Zach?
He won our best. Now that might be for you. Me and Kevin watched Chaz.
and you're saying
Chaz was
they're saying he's
damn
too
good.
small.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is how big?
Yeah, I know.
He's in the NFL. You cannot take a shot.
Keywan
on him.
Pryor is the equivalent of what Darren Sproles always was.
And he's talking about the smallness. What's funny about college is like like,
small.
That's probably good.
Let me tell you something. He's small, but you can't tell me these schools aren't going to pack 20 pounds on him as soon as he gets there.
Zach, wouldn't you?
His speed with another 20 pounds.
I mentioned this the other day, and of course, Cinefoni's from Burns, so he rolled his eyes at me. I think Keywan should get a trial in the XFL.
They don't have a draft. They don't have a. You have to go to college.
Let him punt return one time. You can't tackle him
With some
one-on-one in
space.
an open field. You can't do it. I've watched it. I watched the. They went and played in the playoffs. When we had to go up above Lenore. What's the team?
High Brighton.
They went to High Brighton. They couldn't tackle him. It was
Okay.
embarrassing.
Yeah, but wait a minute now. We're not all the high schools around here have all the talent in the world that Pryor would have. So let's
Right.
not say that that would exactly translate
Right, I
at the
understand
next
that,
level.
but here's what
Speed translate, but
the
everybody else is fast too.
The only team that really could contain him was Shelby, and that's because they had so many athletes on that team that they could kind of keep him contained. They still didn't stop him. So if you're putting him on a team with other elite players, it's going to show out. I think it's a big mistake. I think,
and I'm not poo-pooing him at all.
Gardner Webb not offering him.
Like I said,
He plays baseball too. So
I'm not poo-pooing him at all, but I'm just saying the success he's had here at the high school level, there's no like at a Division I school where there are 5-4-star athletes all over the field. Like that, I don't know. He'll still be able to show out with some speed, but he won't do nearly enough damage.
I know we got to get on to the baseball thing, but with let's just say with Emmett's biggest, there was one thing about Emmett. He could hide behind that big offensive line. And when he was by the time he got to the offensive line, they couldn't tell where he was at. So he was automatically going to get 3 or 4 yards.
He was best at, and I'll say this, I guess Zach's kind of alluding to that. His vision wasn't ridiculous as far as picking the right hole, but also I think what he's trying to say is Emmett and Barry Sanders hadn't run over almost anybody yet, and it's more of a with Pryor.
Can you hide him behind an offensive line, get him to the line of scrimmage, and let him do what he's best at?
If you're coaching at Carolina, how many running backs are on the team? 5, 4, 5. Aren't they all pretty much kind of the same player? Why wouldn't you want that?
And in
Just in
today's
case.
dynamic,
He's
throwing, swinging the pass out,
I
getting
just thought
somebody
so.
in an open field.
Right.
He could be a slot receiver too if you don't want to run him at running back.
I think they make a big mistake.
Use him on bubble screens. Go to the XFL double forward pass.
I personally went and watched most of the Burns games just to watch him because I've never seen anybody like that.
Right. People that have stood out the most to me around the area, speed wise, Caleb Farley from Maiden,
defensive back for Virginia Tech.
He may be the fastest.
He was a state track winner.
He may be the fastest inline speed I've seen.
But Matt, and you know what's correct? They had him at quarterback at Maiden.
So, I did the game where we played Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
You go on YouTube and pull that up, Hunter. I know it's not HD, but it was. They were putting Sage at safety, okay, as a spy.
Mm-hmm.
Or at linebacker. He was kind of moving both, but he was spying them. They were spying with Sage, and they would run a quarterback sweep and beat Sage to the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the number 1 wide receiver in the history of the state of North Carolina.
Oh, I know.
Caleb Farley, to me, is the fastest. It was like, I don't know how many times I said, this is like a video game, and Lincoln and people were getting mad at me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. Y'all are watching the same thing I am, and this is amazing.
Oh, I know. I watched Caleb Farley when I was working with WNNC. I watched Caleb Farley battle out against Titus Tucker, quarterback at West Caldwell that year. And they were both dual threat athletes. There was not a person on the field. If Caleb got space, you just need to stop running, save your breath. You don't need that oxygen. Just stop.
Who did Q1 end up signing with?
Catawba, I thought.
Yeah. I think that might be right. Yep, Catawba 24. That's amazing to me, Zach.
Transfer portal's always open. Show yourself.
That's just
They can't say that these schools still don't recruit while they're already in school.
listen. The North Carolina, Duke, Wake Forest, East Carolina, NC State. You've all been hot garbage at football forever. There's a reason why, and that's because maybe the best feed I've ever seen. And Zach Norris Hopper's in there with him, and we talked to Cleveland County people. They actually bring up Norris when they talk about Q1. So that just tells you, man, he was fast. For the people to know who Norris Hopper was, he was a great. He would be like Q1 playing quarterback and then running the option. Yeah, to give you an idea what Norris Hopper was like back in the day. And he also, but he had the big shoulder pads though, like Barry Sanders. Yeah, so he could jerk his little butt down. All right, let's see. So there's our NASCAR, and there is our
college talk.
College talk for Zach. We have to get those two out of the way. Then where's my?
I think we're on baseball
news and notes. Yes, we want to talk about the new rules. The new rules. You ready for this, Hunter?
Have you heard this, Hunter?
Oh, what baseball wants to do by extending the yeah, I don't like it.
I love it.
I do too.
So we're going to talk about it. See what Hunter don't like, and there is a part of it I hate.
I think I agree with that. I'm probably on the same line of thinking.
So Major League Baseball is thinking about doing new playoff system. That's MMA. I don't want to go to MMA. Jeez.
Yeah, you do.
Well, what are the standings? Anyway, they're going to go to a new system here, or thinking about it, talking about it, options. And okay. So they're talking expanding. I thought they would expand to 6 and do like the NFL. But they're talking expanding to 7 teams in each league. And the highest would have the bye. And then the next 3 teams would get to choose who they play. I don't know how that would work. I guess the next 2 teams would choose who they play.
I hate that.
The other 2 division winners choose who they play, and then the last 2 would have to play each other. I do not like that at all. Like, how do you go down a line of good thought, good thought, good thought? Let's just do something stupid like the NBA. You can't, and baseball seems the one that does it. They tied the home field advantage in the World Series to the All-Star game. Now they want to let you choose
who you play,
your opponent, which is dumb. But I love the idea of more playoffs and more playoff teams. I've been saying it for years. Cut the number of games, which they haven't done. They haven't discussed that as part of this. But expand the playoffs, because baseball with 162 games, you could have over 100 meaningless games in your city, or 80 homeless games, but over 100 meaningless regular season games. So last year, Baltimore went 54 and 108. At no point were they in it, but with more playoff teams, it gave you a chance. Last year, remember, we were talking wild card at some point with the National League.
I mean, I would have just been happy if they decided to make where the wild card game is not just a one game.
The one game I hate.
I would love it to be the 5 or 7 games like every other series.
So let's look at what it would be, Hunter. Last year's, if we did it. Where's my trusty notepad that's about had its days here. That was the WWE Mount Rushmore. All right, Hunter. Number 1 in the American League would be the Astros. Cheating Astros.
No, take them off. They cheated. Give it to the Yankees.
So they would have had the bye. It would have been Yankees and Twins in the 2 and the 3. According to them, they would get choices, but we're not going to do choices.
I don't want to do choices. I think choices is stupid.
There's a theory out about that too, so I'll talk about that theory in a minute.
What was it? They want to match up pitching?
Nope. This is what they think they've done. Okay, and this has come out today. I don't know if it was Kirsten or whoever said. He said he believes that they leaked this out for one reason. He said he don't think the traditionalists, because baseball traditionalists do not want to change up the way they do things, that they would accept bringing 7 teams in. So they put this out there that, this team is going to get to pick who they get to play. So when it actually goes to be voted on, they say, we can do this, but we don't want to do that. Then they get to keep it traditional with it's going to line up based on the standings anyway, and that's going to be the scapegoat.
So essentially, they put out fake news. That's what you're saying?
Yep.
Fake news.
That's what the theory is from some of the baseball all your baseball analysts. That could be possibly
Deep
something there.
thoughts.
Deep thoughts.
All right, y'all ready for the first round matchups? So, if we did it in the American League, we would have the 7 seed Boston Red Sox, who I knocked out
way early.
I predicted that. Y'all got to give me credit for that one. They were like 3-13,
Right.
and I said they're done. It was like the second week of the season.
Right.
Terry's like, "Oh, we got plenty of time." And
He a Red Sox fan?
no, he's a Kansas City Royals fan.
Okay.
But he was just saying they got plenty of time, and I'm like, no, you don't.
Terry won't be behind
You
this.
can't- you-
He won't be behind this because the Royals still won't make it.
Yeah, they didn't make-
God
they didn't
almighty.
make it
They're not making it.
in this either. So 1, 2.
The Yankees will get the bye.
Yankees get the bye. No, Houston get the bye. They would play the winner of Oakland and Tampa, and then Yankees would host Boston and Minnesota hosting Cleveland. Now, in the National League, let's get back over here. It would be LA at 1 with the bye.
Mhm.
The Braves at 2. Cardinals 3. Nats 4. Brewers 5. Let's see, St. Louis,
Mets.
Atlanta, and then
Mets.
were the Mets the next in line in wild card?
86.
They were Mets and Diamondbacks.
And these teams in that range are pretty similar on record.
So Atlanta would have been hosting Arizona, Hunter.
Yeah.
Like or dislike.
It's winnable.
And then y'all would play the winner of St. Louis and the Mets, and then Washington and Milwaukee would play. So under this scenario, 3 teams in the NL East would have made the playoffs, Hunter.
and their records are at least 80 wins. So I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right. If you're taking top 7 teams, everybody's going to be over 500.
You just don't want somebody like the NBA's got to, where you're
losing records.
Yes,
I think
that's
that's what
horrible.
I think they should honestly look into
I
into
agree.
cutting.
Yeah, but I think
agree.
the NBA would work out better if instead of doing West versus East, they did top 16 teams.
I didn't want to.
I know-
Play-wise
I didn't
would,
wanna
but travel
steer to- I
would
was
be
just
hell.
gonna
No,
say-
travel
I
would
would
be
just want
bad.
to say, based on, I didn't want losing teams in it. What that was
Mhm.
my.
Right.
You
right,
don't
right.
want losing teams in. I think it hurts.
The NFL, you can have losing teams. Panthers made it with a losing record.
Yeah.
The NBA and NFL, you can have a losing record and make the playoffs. The Major League Baseball, it's about impossible. You just can't.
Unless everybody just sucks.
Unless everybody in a division had a losing
just
record.
sucks.
And 162 games playing each other,
No.
somebody's going to end up with a winning record.
Somebody's gonna win 80 games.
Right.
I mean, that's where you're. Well, how many games?
81 would be half.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I was thinking. 81.
So you do like the
Yes.
format? Don't like? What would you do?
I like adding the teams. I don't like picking your matchups. Number one,
I think that's what was so bad on me is I can get with the adding teams.
Okay.
I want them to make the wild card games series, not just one game.
They
but I
said-
don't. I'm
they
like you,
said
I
what they're-
don't like to pick them.
They said what the way they're going to
I do
do.
like the 3.
The proposal on this, Hunter, is a 2-5-7-7 playoff. I mean 3-5-7-7.
Yeah,
3-5. I'm gonna say.
Two
Oh,
out of
that's
three.
fine.
3-5-7-7 is
That's
what they're
fine.
talking.
If you don't want to do the full 5 and the full 7 game series, that's fine.
I
3
would
is fine.
even
Wouldn't you
bring
rather-
the World
3 is
Series
fine.
at 7. I wouldn't even do the national
Listen,
the championships. I just wouldn't.
No, I would do them all at 7.
Think so?
Because here's why. I would rather see a 7-game first-round playoff series than the Baltimore Orioles play the the Detroit Tigers in a 4-game series in October. Wouldn't you rather see that? So that's your choice. That's what you're basically making that choice over. Do we add more playoff games and take away some regular season games?
Oh, you're saying take away regular season games.
That's why they
plus
have it-
doing a 7.
that's why they
I don't
have
have
it-
a problem with that.
That's why they don't do all 7s, because they're still trying to fit it in the same
And
schedule.
I understand that. I
Instead
have
of
no
taking
problem
away.
with that.
I would rather
they
see
play
that.
Too many, they play too many games now, and when you talked about the other day, then if you drop the amount of games, and we think that the reason the amount of games was played was because back then they didn't have the TV rights, money that they were getting, but
Right.
you're gonna have to draw a line in your stats, overall stats. But you were even talking about they don't even count stats anymore; they count WAR. So, and I'm not a fan of that stat.
All right, so we fixed baseball.
I like adding teams. I don't like picking who you want to play. Now, it could be really bad if you pick the team that is, what do you call it? Locker room.
Right. That's going to make somebody mad, right? You don't want that as a coach.
No.
You don't want that on you, do you? Saying, I'd rather play these teams. Because that's just be nothing but
flip a coin.
Right. That's going to do nothing but backfire. Just put them in order.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do based on what the insiders say that's happened.
All right, couple quick baseball rule changes, Zach. I want to, if you hit a batsman, he gets 2 bases. That will stop throwing at batters for the most part, a lot of part. You're up 9-0, it's not going to stop it. But you're not going to intentionally hit someone in fairly close games.
No, you won't hit nobody if they get 2 bases.
Not what the score is.
You won't ever get to see Nolan Ryan take out.
I think you'll still see it some because if you get hit, then you know for a fact he did it on purpose, probably. What do you think about moving the mound back 2 feet?
Yeah,
or a foot and a half? A foot and a half to 62 feet.
Excuse me. What did we figure out when you moved it back was going to change the pitching speed?
It'd slow it down just a little bit.
Yeah,
right. It would slow it down just a touch. Remember, baseball's made changes to the ball to make it spin faster. Yeah. They have totally changed the ball. This is scientific proof that we all know this. And it's not as necessarily flying further, but it's spinning faster is what the ball's doing because they've lowered the seams on them. It's kind of what they've done.
And this is pretty telling. The average fastball from a major league starter is 92.3. Average. Wonder what it's been through the years. That's what I was thinking in my mind. Average speed or average velocity is the thing. Velocity. MLB.
Just type in average
95.
fastball over the years.
In 2008, the average speed. This is interesting. The average fastball in 2008 was 90.9. So you're telling me not doing something with these balls? It's 92.3. That's 2 miles an hour faster. The average speed jumped to 92.
Hunter, you don't think that's doing from shoulder presses?
Shoulder press.
From 2008.
Oh yeah, doing some nice shoulder presses and then coming in here with a nice stretching band, loosening that shoulder up. No, we all know that's coming from Tommy John surgery. They're making that elbow stronger.
They're all doing Rookie of the Year out there. Ain't that what that movie was about?
They got Tommy John came out better.
Told us all what was about to happen.
Yeah. Did the creator of The Simpsons make that movie?
They might have. That was an awful sneaky way to tell everybody about these surgeries.
Well, what? Rookie of the Year?
There's you something. Since it's went up every year since 2002. It went down 04 to 05. Went down twice.
88.5 was the average speed in 2002 until in 2016 it's 92 miles an hour.
Okay, so the cheating scandal with the Astros.
Yeah.
I've always contended that once you get to 90 miles per hour plus, you're almost guessing.
Yes.
And Zach just showed the average fastball used to be 88.
It went up 4 miles an hour in 20 years.
And now it's at 92. So, to me, for the Astros players doing what they're doing, I'm not saying I'm okay with it. I'm saying I understand why or how it helps, because if you're in the batter's box and someone's throwing 95,
because that was just average.
So you're thinking, okay, he's going to throw a fastball. So if he throws a fastball here, I have to swing almost as soon as he lets go of it. And, Zach, I have to get the right location.
Yes.
Because I can swing high, I can swing low, but if I'm not swinging at the ball, it don't really matter.
Don't matter.
So there's 2 things that going into just hoping you get it right. So then when they throw a slider, a 90-mile-per-hour slider at you, or a curve or whatever, and it's moving and you're not looking for it,
you're not hitting it.
You're not hitting it. I'm telling you, you're in the batter's box thinking fastball or breaking ball. One of the two. You have to choose one at that speed. You have to choose one of those two almost when you're in the batter's box, and then attack that way. And them hitting the thing or making a noise telling you what it was, I totally get that as a batter, because it's gonna help your timing. Just knowing that it's a fastball, because then you don't have to worry. You just time your foot, look for your spot, and if the fastball's not in that spot, then you can take the pitch. I think it was a big deal.
And they said the other day, they said that they've been stealing pitches, stealing signs since the beginning.
Right.
But to do it, and what's illegal is to do it with technology.
Technology. You're supposed to be. If you can sit on the baseball field and get any sign you want.
Century.
Yeah.
Now, if you were smart, you just have certain signals for certain times of the game.
We are in the 21st century. Let them do whatever the hell they want.
I just say, and it goes back to the steroid thing. Okay, let's just say Bonds did take what he did. If he did, he still had to be able to hit it. He still had to have hand-eye coordination, even if you know what's coming.
Yeah.
At that speed, you still have to hit it. Randy Johnson, we talked about his what did he throw, the slider?
Fastball slider.
Oh my goodness, you still got to hit that, and it's going to be most of the time coming towards you.
His slider started behind the batter at 90 miles per hour.
So
your first instinct is close my eyes and don't die.
Right.
And then he breaks it 3.5 feet over the plate.
And then feel for the guy that saw the pigeon explode in front of him and say, man, I still have to hit this.
Yeah.
I have to hit this. I walked away.
We just took automatic K.
I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry.
Or he wants to give you a little chin music, and he locates it right under your chin just to pull you off the home plate a little bit.
No, the scary thing is when he throws it and goes, my bad, that one slipped. You're like, what's the next one going to do?
Man.
So I don't think these players are that much more talented than what we had before. I just think the balls are flying. They're flying faster and flying farther.
Mm-hmm. Obviously. Like I said, they changed the seams on them. They admitted to them. They got caught. Major League Baseball players are producing, balls are produced in one factory. Guess where they're at, Zach?
Is it Mexico?
No. Cuba. Why? That's not fishy at all, is it?
Hey, man, they are making Cuban cigars right next to baseballs.
Zach, who's that walking down the hall?
That was Andre.
Oh, okay. That doesn't raise up any suspicion, does it? The Cuba?
No.
Not at all.
Okay. Not at all. Castro ain't over it no more.
Oh, goodness.
Not for a long time.
So, any other baseball changes y'all want to make while we're doing that?
I don't have any problem with them doing it.
Hunter don't want the DH, right?
I
don't want the DH in the National League. I really don't want the DH at all. I think they should take it out of the American League. But if you want to go anything else that I would change, I'm fine with adding more games to the playoffs if, like you said, you take away games from the regular season.
So with all that, what's your
to me?
Do you like the DH? Do you like the DH? I don't.
I'm going to say yes and no. And I don't want it as far as part of the game. It'd be nice to see the players earn their way batting and pitching. I don't mind it per se sometimes because if the pitcher's not going to give any attempt whatsoever, like, why be up there? But if there wasn't a DH, the pitchers would work on it, right? And think about if there wasn't a DH and the pitchers had to bat, I think you would see less relievers. We got 12, 13 relievers out here specializing. I'm going to go throw to one lefty.
So, to me, it's
if you had to be able to swing two,
the
then
DH,
you wouldn't have a lot of that.
So the DH, obviously, it stands for what it is.
I think it's
your designated hitter.
Yeah.
To me, what difference does he have other than he's at the plate more than once than a pinch hitter?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you can still make the move with the pinch hitter, but the pinch hitter usually has to go and play the position that he filled in the lineup. Why would you not just say you can have multiple pinch hitters in an inning and make like they already do? Just take away the designated hitter. He doesn't have to lose his job. But when you need him in crunch time, then you can.
I don't like because he can't catch either.
Well, that's where I was going. Now
it's just putting in.
DHs,
you're putting in
big.
Yeah, if you're putting them in, you're just putting in big people that only thing they're doing. That's another thing is that all they're doing is hitting. But then you could say, well, that's the relievers. A DH to me is like a closer / reliever. Like how much is he actually helping the team per se? Is he the DH is obviously not helping the team more than the 9 other position or 8 other position players. I don't think. Unless they're hitting 350 and 40, but they're still not helping on the field. And as a fielder, that to me that just bothers me. I wouldn't say, just when you think about your DHs, the reason the DHs I played with in high school were DHs was because they were slower and couldn't catch as much as the other guys at first base. and that's why they play DH.
And then our second question for both of y'all is, what's the number do you shoot for if you drop the amount of games?
140.
140.
I was about to say drop it 20 games maybe.
120 would probably be perfect.
I was thinking 100. So if we split 140 and 100, that's 120.
Let me give you a little quick strikeout stat. Folks will say, "Well, who wants to see pitchers strike out every at bat?" Well, I got one for you. Who wants to see Mike Trout strike out every at bat? I did the math on it.
A lot of people you diss on pitchers. Hold on now. They're the ones that would understand pitches better than some of the hitters. They're the ones that throw the dang thing.
I don't understand why catchers aren't the best hitters. They should be awesome.
Yeah, it should be easy picking up the ball.
It should be awesome at hitting.
Easy.
All right, Zach, the math on it is Trout strikes out 23% of his at-bats.
That's horrible. That's 1 every 4. That's horrible.
Ozzie Smith got in the Hall of Fame batting .260. So he's a Hall of Fame almost strikeouter. All right, you ready for this? Adam Wainwright strikes out every 28% of the time. So Adam Wainwright, if him was replaced, if he pitched hit for Mike Trout, in 100 at bats, Trout would strike out 23 times. Wainwright would strike out 28 times. That's only 5 out of 100.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me, hey, the greatest player of all time, Hunter, only strikes out 5% of the time more than a pitcher.
I don't have anything to you know my stance on Mike Trout.
Hey, you know what Chris Davis's is, though? I got one for you. 33. He strikes out 33% of the time.
Jim Thome struck out 33%.
Did he really?
Yes, he did. I was looking up guys I would remember striking out a lot. The one that surprised me, the most strikeouts of a career, is Reggie Jackson.
He did. I do remember that fun stat.
It was for the fence or nothing, really.
He was the ultimate swing forward or nothing.
Right.
So
for the fence, Mr. October.
Don't have I'm good with that. I was thinking in my head the number of games that you would play. They're getting their money from the TV deals anyway. They don't need the money from
getting their money from the TV deals, and the fact that they've got a couple $billion-dollar owners just sitting there shelling money whenever they want.
I would. We've talked about this. I don't know. We talked about it on the show. We have talked about. I would love to have a local MLB team. I think we did talk about it on the show.
Now here's the question I have, and I'd posed it one time. Someone told me, it was like, well, it goes against capitalism. Well, we do it already in 2 other sports. Would you like to see a salary cap implemented in Major League Baseball to where you have teams that don't just whoever has the most money, like how the Yankees have gotten every World Series that they have?
But you got Kansas City that come in there too. They're a small market, and didn't they win the World Series years back? I thought they did. It was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, but even then, on a salary cap, they're on an even playing field just with everybody else. The only thing that would hurt them is small market. That's it. But they'd still all be on the same salary cap.
That's our engineer. He just walked in. He's checking some stuff out.
I don't have a problem with that. So I'm good with all that we talked about that.
I got one more stat. I'm gonna find it here in a second. I just got so many notes I got to go through.
He just wants to rip Mike Trout a little bit more.
that might be what it is. It was about the Angels really instead of Trout, but it is about Trout.
And I want you to think of how, because that's what I mean by the salary cap might help. Because look at what the Dodgers just did. The Dodgers just moved for Mookie Betts. Yeah. They've already got what's the Bellinger? They've already got Clayton Kershaw. They've got weapons everywhere, and it helps that Kroenke's just made of money. He's just made of money. He pulls it out of places nobody else would know to look. And does that not hurt a Minnesota? Because if I'm not mistaken, since they ended up having to be wasn't it a 3-team trade? That's the only way that was even going to work. And they pull in Minnesota into the trade. And guess what? Minnesota's not even in the conversation to land Mookie Betts.
Mm-hmm.
They're just the other team. They're just the other team so that the Red Sox, major market, and LA, major market, can get the players that they need to just flip-flop. That's what it was. I don't understand that. To me, it's like, capitalism. So what, man? You mean to tell me Mike Trout needs $400 million to play baseball?
I just think they got it's skewed on what they pay him. And Kevin's talked about he makes more than a lot of teams by himself, and he's not worth what he makes versus a whole team.
The 3 highest contracts: Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado. None of them made the playoffs. None of them.
And then
They
the
all
team that,
came out to be $1 billion.
Bryce Harper left.
They ended up winning the World Series. If that's not irony, I don't know what is.
I think.
I'm off.
Kevin, which stat are you looking up?
I've got a payroll stat here for the Angels. I'm trying to find.
So while you're looking at that, so what position? We'll just say this: what position would you say would garner you the most potential wins? Would you think it would be starting pitcher?
Catcher.
You would think so too. What do you say, Kevin?
Catcher.
I was thinking pitcher in my head, just to see who
I mean,
you get the most wins out of.
Kershaw is going to get you
money wise.
Well, money to me, like it is pitcher because Kershaw, they always tell you, he at least a quarterback is going to guarantee you maybe 5 or 6 wins or 7, depending on his play. It was the same thing in baseball. He's got the ball in his hand every play, almost, except when they're at bat.
Right. Griffey, Ichiro, Trout, and Bonds have a combined 0 world championships. The catching Molina brothers have 5. Yadier Molina in his career, Zach, Cardinals had 1 losing season in his career, and they won 77 games. That's in Yadi's career. Now, is that Adam Wainwright's fault? Pujols was only there for half of them. Or is that because the catcher's team ERA is the best in the league when he's in the lineup and not when he is in the lineup? I think it's 4 when he's in the lineup, 5 when he's not in the lineup.
That's 1 run is a lot.
1 run per game by the catcher.
Yeah.
So you can talk about, does Trout produce 1 run a game or does Griffey or Bonds produce 1 run a game? That dude right there, we know when he catches, the other team gets less than 1 run a game. That is huge to me.
And if you think about it, I mean, if we're just saying positional, he's basically a middle linebacker, right?
Right.
That's what he really, if you're putting it in football terms, because he's got to watch all the bases.
Right.
He's got to handle the pitcher, where he wants the ball placed, what he calls, and he's in the ear of the batter too.
Well, yeah, I mean, right. So the catcher's got to know everything. He's pretty. You talk kind of the middle linebacker. He's kind of like really the quarterback, but I guess the pitcher is more of the quarterback in that sense. But yeah, it's not. To me, and I text Philip Russ when this about this, and I asked him, would you rather have, if you're going to a ball game, and let's say you could either have the all-star catcher and an average catcher, or an all-star center fielder and an average center fielder, which would you rather have? And he said, I'd rather have the all-star catcher, just because it just changes so much. Not only offensively, but the defensive stuff. And like I said, with him, being able to only 1 losing season in 18 years, and he lowers the actual team RA by a whole run. I just think that's just too much. Maybe I don't have it on my notes. Maybe it's in my tweets, Hunter. But the Angels, what I was trying to find, Zach, is they've been the top 10 in payroll every year, pretty much, that Trout has been there. So, you can't blame that. Then this year they've added, Reardon and another player, so it's only getting bigger. Here you go. Here's their payroll ranks. I got you. 4th, 4th, 7th, 6th, 7th, 7th, 11th, 6th, and 9th. So in his 9 seasons, Zach, only 1 time has the Angels not been in the top 10 in payroll. And they have 0 playoff game wins. Right. So there was the point on that, is that you can have that payroll all you want. How about some eye-opening numbers for you folks as far as, you talk Mike Trout and the guys in the past. How about Mike Trout? His career high slugging percentage is .645, the best he's ever had. Mm-hmm. Barry Bonds did that 7 times. 7 times. You know what Barry's best ever is? Slugging percentage. .863. Monster. .863 is his best. Trout's is .645. 5. All right. Babe Ruth, if he was Zach, here's your Babe Ruth stat of the day. If he woke up and was resurrected today, he could go 0 for 1,146 straight strikeouts and still have a better slugging percentage than Barry Lamar Bonds.
Wow.
He could strike out 1,100 straight times and still have a better slugging percentage than Barry Bonds. That's Babe Ruth. How about Rogers Hornsby? The reason I bring him up is the Trout fans were attacking him the other day, Hunter. So I said, okay, I'll bring up some Hornsby. Roger Hornsby had 7 40-double seasons, 7 200-hit seasons, 3 330 and 100 RBI seasons, 2 430 and 100 RBI seasons. How about this season? Maybe the greatest baseball season of all time, Zach. He batted .407, 40 homers, and over 100 RBIs. In 1 year, 400, 40 homers, 100 RBIs. He's had 3 400 batting average seasons. Mike Trout has did all that 0 times.
I want to look at
Trout, real quick. Let me finish.
Okay,
Trout's
you're good.
career high is 326. Hornsby did that 11 times. In 8 years, Hunter, Trout has 1,100 strikeouts. 8 years. How many do you think Hornsby had in 23 years?
800.
679. In 23 years, Hornsby had 679 Ks. Trout already in 18 years has almost doubled him with 1,100
In only 8 years.
In 8 years.
Yeah.
And
8
3
years.
times the last years has almost doubled him in strikeouts. Isn't swinging and a miss bad?
You know, that's what I was taught by my father growing
Strike
up.
3, you're out.
Do you remember the old Major League swing and a miss?
Was it strike? Is it strike 3? Well, don't worry, your war will still be good. Is that how they do it now? Like when you walk back to the dugout,
50-50, either a strikeout or home run.
do they honestly would rather have a strikeout than a fly ball now? Or a ground ball.
And they shouldn't, because you can move players over on that.
That's the one thing that isn't
Small
accounted for in the
algorithm.
Oh
wow!
Is that players moving up base to base?
It just drives me crazy.
All right. What else? That
Did
you
want to
said
bring
you
a
had
quick
another.
stat. You was talking about catchers, and I looked up top 10 catchers all time on ESPN. Number 10, Gary Carter. He has 1 championship. Number 9, Mickey Cochran. He has 3 championships. Number 8, Buster Posey. He has 3 championships. Number 7, Mike Piazza. He has none.
He was a hitter.
He was a hitter. Number 6 is Ivan Rodriguez. He has 1.
I think he might be the best ever.
I would agree, but we saw him.
Yeah.
Roy Campanelli, he has 1. Carlton Fisk, none. That's surprising. Yogi Berra, he's loaded. Josh Gibson, they called him the Black Babe Ruth.
Yeah, he was
has
awesome.
6. And Johnny Bench had 2. So only
Whoa.
2 out of the 10 didn't get a championship. They said Johnny Bench is the best.
How in the living hell is Yadier Molina not on that list?
He was on the top 10
Get
of the
the
decade.
fuck
We'll just
outta
say
here.
that. We're top 10 of the decade. He didn't make top 10 all-time greatest.
If he had a Yankees hat on, Hunter,
Yeah.
he would be the greatest catcher of all time. We wouldn't even be talking about it. They would forget who Yogi Berra was. If Yadier Molina had done what he did in St. Louis and in New York.
He wasn't even ahead of Piazza. That's kind of disgraceful.
How many championships Jeter win?
I have no idea.
Don't know.
5?
Yeah, I don't know. They 100% voted a closer into the Hall of Fame. Get the fuck out of it, dumbass.
That's done.
All right. Here's your stat of the day. Football. Larry Fitzgerald, Randy Moss, Hines Ward, Reggie Wayne, Lynn Swann, Andre Reed, Roger Craig, Jerome Bettis, James Lofton, Curtis Martin, Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, Marshall Faulk, Chris Carter, and LaDainian Tomlinson. What do they all have in common?
Never won a Super Bowl?
No.
I couldn't hear it. It was going too fast.
Fitzgerald, Randy, Hines Ward, Reggie
Marshall Faulk
Wayne,
throws that one out,
Lynn Swann, Andre Reed, Roger Craig, Bettis, Lofton, Curtis Martin, Marshall Faulk, Chris Carter, and LaDainian Tomlinson. They all have less career playoff touchdowns than Damian Williams,
That's sad.
who was cut 7 times this year.
Super Bowl champion.
All of them have less career touchdowns than Damian Williams. Zach Taysom Hill is 6 of 13 for 109 in his career.
He wants to be a franchise
Hunter
quarterback.
Muhammad Sanu is 7 of 8 for 233
I saw
yards
that
and
tweet.
4 touchdowns.
I saw that tweet.
All right,
Somebody's going to throw a lot of money at Taysom Hill.
Right.
It's coming.
for
the
what
dumbest
reason too? Right? You know, that would be awful.
He's a product of Sean Payton.
Oh, that was the tweet. Now I read you all that about Hornsby and Trout. Right?
Yeah.
Here's the one that got me. I'm sure someone noticed this, but Mike Trout finished last season now as the career OPS plus among right-handed hitters. What the fuck is that? OPS plus. You know what that means? I looked it up. It's your on base percentage plus your slugging percentage plus the field you played on. Now we're counting the ballpark that we played.
Larry
in.
Walker's done.
And he was and guess what, Hunter? He was only one above him.
Larry
I
Walker.
just read how many stats blows him out of the water, and this is their argument. Mike Trout is one WRCA RC plus above Roger Hornsby. Get the hell out of here.
I feel like they make these acronyms.
They're making.
They
They're
do. They're
making
just making
him
us
to try.
up.
They're making him to try to put him in the argument with these
Right
players
to
what they're
sell
doing it
to
for.
sell ads. Did I get Zach? Were you here for the Jameis Winston, Aaron Rodgers stats?
No.
Aaron Rodgers in 15 seasons has thrown 84 picks. Jameis Winston in
impressive.
5 seasons has thrown 88.
Now, I will say this.
Andre
and this
said that's good because he threw 30 last year. That means he's only thrown 58 in 4 seasons.
I will say this. Now, they say that Aaron Rodgers purposely doesn't throw picks. He'll throw the ball away for he'll throw something into a tight window.
He does that.
But, I mean, that's still impressive.
All right, my last
Funny.
thing of the day. I got to read this out. This is funny. We'll talk Cam on Friday more, Hunter. We'll see what Zach says. We talked a little. Zach kind of is in the same boat. He thinks he's gone too, right?
Saturday or Friday, yeah.
Zach, you think Cam's gone too, right?
He's gone.
Based on, I mean, Tepper's done
There is
everything.
no way,
I
as an
saw
owner, you
this.
come out and make that statement. He's not gone.
All right,
No way.
English teacher. You ready for this? Is grading his class. I didn't tell y'all this, did I? I read this to my mom. I think I read this to Andre, right? I didn't read this to you, Hunter.
What?
English teacher paper about Tom and Jerry.
Oh yeah, I read that.
You
I
read
read
me.
that.
You got me.
I read that.
I'm gonna read
yeah.
it to Zach.
You got me. I did it with you with Andre.
Oh, okay. That was you that was reading it to then. All
Yeah.
right. Well, never mind. I'm gonna read it to the fans then.
Yeah, I read it literally last
the
night.
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Are we
Yes,
going to do
yes.
a Mount Rushmore
Well,
today?
damn.
Tom
I guess
is
we
just-
can if you want, Zach.
Tom
before
is
we go.
just being a
You want?
cat.
I had a friend that asked.
You want
I don't know
to?
if you've done it. Friend asked. I eat breakfast with him on Wednesdays, and I think he's probably listening, possibly unless he's sleeping. He does work third shift. He will watch podcasts, but he said, "Did y'all not do a Carolina Panthers?" And I have not.
We have not done the Panthers yet.
It's not worth my time.
I will do it for fodder for him. I told
We
him
can
who
do
mine
it.
was.
I mean, I can give you 3.
I told him who mine was. Let me go
Me and
first.
Zach probably
Go
got
ahead.
the same.
Go ahead.
And he said I would, and Kevin did too. Probably get like blasted for not putting Cam on top 4. I'm not going to do it.
I'll say this now. It's not radio. Piss off.
I'm going to do Steve Smith,
That's a given.
Stephen Davis.
He was a good running back, but
We talked about it this morning. I do Stephen Davis.
You
Steve,
said Luke
Luke,
and Steve
and John
Smith.
Casey.
Casey. See, I've got.
And I like Sam Mills, but I just don't think. I think he's more motivational than he was. That's just my personal opinion. So anyway,
See, I think the first two are no question.
Peppers was definitely.
Julius Peppers is on mine. Steve Smith is on mine.
Steve Smith and Peppers are my 1 and 2.
That was my friends this morning. So
Jake
he'll
DeLong.
love that.
Jake Delhomme didn't have a losing
That'd be
season
my
as a
wife's
quarterback.
number 1.
Didn't have a losing season for the Panthers as a quarterback, and took him to a Super Bowl as well. I mean, then I can put
And
John
like I said,
Casey.
I could throw
There's my
Stephen
4.
Davis off and put Peppers on.
They
in a
all
minute.
played. They all played together, and they're on my 4.
So.
Jake Delhomme, Steve Smith, Julius Peppers, and John Casey.
That's good.
Yeah.
You know what?
I mean-
If I was doing mine, Peppers could go on easily in front. If I put him on, it would be over Davis or Casey. Both, either one, interchangeable.
I would put him over
Peppers
Stephen Davis.
is probably my favorite defensive player. Steve Smith's my favorite offensive player.
Ice up, son.
Stephen Davis is my second favorite offensive player.
Stephen Davis was good.
I loved him.
Great running back.
I liked
He
the
was very
style.
good. I liked watching D'Angelo Williams run.
I was not the biggest D'Angelo fan. I just like
He had
Stephen
a
Davis.
fumbling problem, but I liked watching Williams. And that was the truth. I like watching McCaffrey now, but I liked the 1-2 punch with Williams and Jonathan Stewart.
Kevin, you said you had 2. Who was your other 2?
Hold on, I was Jake's record is 56-40, 583 win percentage. Cam is if he will end up at 549. So Jake will have a better win percentage than Cam. Made it to a Super Bowl like Cam.
Just didn't win the MVP.
Cam had 5 losing seasons. Jake had 1. So Jake with 5 winning seasons, Cam with only 3, and Cam with 5 losing seasons. And the first thing everybody's going to say, Hunter, like I said,
The MVP.
he won MVP. He didn't win it. He was voted MVP. You can't win an award you're voted. I mean, yes, you win the award, but there's no like if you win the Super Bowl, how do you win the game? How do you win the Super Bowl? Well, I had to win the game. But yeah, that's
all it takes.
that's my
jumping
on
on a
that. So yeah,
fumble.
5. Yeah, that's true. So like I said, Dale Holm was 5-1, 5 winning seasons, 1 losing season. Cam had 3 winning seasons, 5 losing seasons. I got Steve Smith, Julius Peppers, and before Cam was even drafted, I said John Casey was the greatest Panther ever,
He's a scoring leader.
which means I had to put Luke Kuechly as.
And I'm fine with
how
Luke being
impressive
on
is
there.
that with him being
fine
29
with
years
Luke.
old and retiring?
That's perfectly fine with me. I just said Jake because he took him to a Super
yeah,
Bowl as
all
well.
right.
Kerry
How
Collins
about
made a
putting
Super Bowl. Jake Del Holmes made a Super Bowl, and Panther fans will say those quarterbacks aren't as good as Cam. He made a Super Bowl too, lost Super Bowl. Rex Grossman made a Super Bowl and lost it. Trent Dilfer made one and won it. Zach, you were here for the 6 Super Bowl MVPs, weren't you? That hadn't ever won it, or were you?
Yeah.
I thought you were. The 6 Super Bowl MVP, the regular season MVPs actually won the Super Bowl MVP. There was one other thing I wanted to say something about the Panthers. Let me think. You had your Mount Rushmore. Kerry, Cam, Jake. Cam. Well, I tell you what, Cam would make the Mount Rushmore of Carolina Panthers quarterbacks. How about that? Does that qualify?
Yeah,
So you'd have Kerry, Cam, Jake. Would it be? Would it be
Winky.
Burline
Yeah, Burline was good.
or
when he
Rodney
was here.
Pete?
No,
So Burline.
I'd have to put Burline.
We'll go Burline.
Are we missing somebody?
Probably not.
At this point, we're just damn rambling. God almighty.
Probably not. I swear I said one more Panther point. Dang it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm trying to remember what it was. Maybe it was about John Casey. You remember what it was, Hunter? Remember what my point was?
No.
You don't? All right. So let's, I guess, wrap this up then. Oh, here it is. Cam's MVP resume. Close your eyes, Hunter. If I told you. Now remember, Eli is 7th in yards
No, I've done this.
and 7th in touchdowns.
I think we've done this already.
Cam, career passing touchdowns, 58th. Quarterback rating, 30th. Completion percentage, 51st. Game-winning drives, 69. And comebacks, 61. That's not a
61th.
number. 61st in those. 61th.
Yeah.
All right, folks, those are
Those are our fun stats to
fun
end the
stats
show.
of the day to end the show. Friday, we'll have more XFL predictions from me and Hunter.
Yes.
We'll talk more NBA on Friday for me and Hunter.
Yeah.
Maybe we would have had some more NFL news by then. I wish they would get it on with these quarterbacks and get to move.
Yeah, they're not going to do that yet, but you never know.
And let's see, and I guess that'll do it. So just tune in Friday. You'll see us. You'll hear us. I got the hiccups now from lunch. And I guess we'll have fun Friday. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching Shock Joxx Sports Talk Podcast live on Facebook Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you can watch the replays on YouTube. Listen where all podcasts are available.
Yep.
For KTC Broadcasting. For Hunter Yancey and Zac Mayhue, we'll see you guys Friday on KTCBroadcasting.com.